Hello, Seeker. Welcome to Revival of Symbolism, a channel devoted to the language of esoteric symbolism, guiding you to discover yourself and expand your consciousness into deeper realms of thought. I'm Harry B. Joseph, also known as Revival of Wisdom, and today we're going to be discussing this particular piece of artwork of the eye and the checkered board together, and the esoteric teachings behind the veils of these symbols. So the first thing we must look at is, of course, the eye. The eye being a symbol of consciousness. The eye is the inner witness inside of ourself. This eye is referring to the internal eye of perception inside of our mind, the mind that gives us the ability to perceive and to understand things internally. This is also the eye we use to vision things through our internal vision, what we like to call imagination. The screen in our mind that allows thoughts to be projected into a particular form. So, this eye is talking about the internal eye of perception inside every single individual and form of life: dogs, cats, squirrels, humans. Every single form of life has this internal dialogue, the inner being that no one else can listen to but themselves. This is a symbol of consciousness. And together, these two symbols reveal a grand teaching and understanding of the world and the universe, of how the universe is one consciousness, one observer. This is symbolizing the observer witness consciousness. Consciousness holds many vehicles and many dimensions that it exists in. As I've talked about previously in my previous lectures, we have a physical vehicle of consciousness, which expresses physical actions through the physical body. We have an emotional vehicle of consciousness, which is our emotional body or the astral plane. We have a mental vehicle of consciousness to express thoughts inside of, the thought body of consciousness. We also have a witness side of our consciousness. This internal witness, like who is the one seeing the screen of your reality right now? Who is the one seeing it? Not looking, who's perceiving the screen of reality through your eyes? Well, that would be the inner witness. And that inner witness is also perceiving your thoughts. A lot of people become identified with their thoughts, and they let the changes, the ever coming, unfolding changes in their mind, world, become a part of who they are. And they get caught up in the world and the changes that happens to them. And a great teaching that I've come across this last year is to never identify with the ever changing circumstances that happen in life. When things are tough, when things are bad, always remind yourself that you are the witness of your thoughts and you are the witness of this reality. You are the one witnessing your thoughts, emotions, and actions. You are the one behind them. So when things get tough, try not to get too indulged in these negative things. The eye is the witness. Connect with the witness. And this is the same eye that sees the screen of your reality, and it also sees the screen of your dreams. So this witness consciousness is transcending your physical day life and reality, and it's also witnessing your dreams. It's the same observer who's observing your reality now, but also observing your dreams. So this witness consciousness transcends all forms of bodies of consciousness. It is essentially the highest aspect of ourselves, and it is literally the thought voice, the inner thinker, because you are not the external body. You are not the being outside your mind. You are the being inside your mind who is actively thinking. I like to call uh, what you are what we are as consciousness is consciousness in action. We are the thinking inner thinker, the inner being. And it's about becoming into contact with that inner being again to unveil who we truly are. If we sit back and truly have a thinking session of, closing your eyes and going inside yourself, and you ask yourself, who am I truly? Who am I beyond all of my beliefs, memories, my body? Who am I beyond that? And it will lead you to the inner voice, the inner dialogue. But again, you are not the voice, you are the one hearing the voice. You are the silent, invisible one, the one behind the veil. So this is ultimately what the eye is representing. It is representing the inner self shining, looking down upon the earth, upon duality, right? But this also reveals a great teaching as well, is that consciousness is universal. It is not something uh, solely given to you. It is universal. It is a part of a greater whole. Consciousness is personal and also impersonal. We have our personal sense of self. We have this inner voice. We have this sense of who we are in this world. And that is our personal sense of self. But you can also transcend the personal sense of self by turning off the mind and fading into the collective impersonal consciousness, which is ultimately what you call transcended states of consciousness, altered states of consciousness, or astral projection. When you astral project, you are simply accessing this impersonal aspect of consciousness. And this is ultimately what the symbol is representing with the checkered board floor, because the checkered board floor is a duality, division. There is many, many different forms, but the I is singular. This is representing how the universe is one witness being, one consciousness expressing itself in infinite life forms and into division. But ultimately, division is an illusion. Consciousness fades into an impersonal consciousness. So the checkerboard floor and the eye above symbolizes how consciousness fractals itself and crystallizes into many different forms of personalized consciousness, the self, the sense of self, right? And this is why we always say, I am. I. If we look at the word I and the word I, so we have I, which is I am, and you also have the word I, which is like the eye you see here in the sky. The I, and if you look at the beginning of some words, you have inside. You also have internal, intelligence, all things to do with the inner self. Most words begin with an I, which is, I find, is a great connection because it's referring to the inner intelligence, the inner being, the inner sense of self. So the universe is essentially one being expressed in many different forms. That's also found in the word universe, uni, coming from the root word unite, meaning oneness, unification, united, and verse being a verse of a song, because we're all playing the song of consciousness, which is an ever unfolding song, an unfolding vibration, an unfolding creation. So this is simply representing how consciousness fractals itself into many different forms. And when we identify with our self consciousness, our sense of self, We no longer realize that we're a part of a greater whole. We're part of a unified field of consciousness. And there is only actually one true being in the universe, and that is the inner witness. And that inner witness is inside of every living form. And in order to truly process that, it takes a lot. You have to disintegrate who you truly think you were before you wake up to this universal truth. Before you understood this, you just think, I am me, you are you, and everyone is divided and everyone is their own being. When in fact, we're all not. We're all one consciousness expressing itself infinitely. Uh, and it's kind of like a social system. Consciousness is always interacting with itself. When you interact with someone else, you're interacting with yourself. It's a very mind-boggling concept to truly understand. But again, in order to truly understand this, you have to let go of who you thought you were. And when you do no longer identify with your personal consciousness and you identify with the witness consciousness, you become unified with the whole, with the greater, with the collective consciousness. And this changes the way you think, you feel, and act, because you then realize that we're all playing a part of creation on this earth. We're all contributing towards the building project of Earth. And your thoughts, emotions, and actions also hold a great impact on the building project, your contribution towards humanity and the collective. And you start to have empathy for other people and you start to care for other people naturally by understanding this concept. And it's a very important concept because if the whole world truly understood this, we would live in a better reflection in the material world. The world would be reflecting a better place because the world is simply just a reflection of consciousness. And the world today is so bad because people's thoughts and consciousness is not in the greatest state of mastery, of self realization, and people don't understand who they truly are. And a religion plays a massive part in this. Our whole lives, we're stuffed with someone's going to come and save us. Jesus will return and save the whole world. It's to me, to be honest, it's complete utter nonsense. We have free will. We are the ones holding we hold responsibility for the creation that unfolds on the earth. Us as a collective consciousness are God manifesting, unfolding this creation and steering it in the present moment. And that's another thing. Reality was never created thousands of years ago. God is creating the world right now through the present moment, and it's unfolding. It's in a continuous state of becoming, just like you are in a continuous state of becoming. Time is evolving. Time evolves our minds, it evolves our sense of self. And we evolve over time as an individual and as a collective consciousness. And so does the earth go through this change as we change. So it's important that we are becoming more self aware in the world so we can actually start to reflect a better world. But the checkered board floor, again, it's just reminding us of the duality and the illusion, because it looks like an illusion, a checkered board floor. It's an illusion. The physical world, if you only look at the world through the eyes, you will live in the veils of illusion and never see the light, the higher understanding of the world. You will see everything as divided. You will see everything as I am me, you are you, and live in division. But in truth, we are all one. We all come from the same source, and we're all the same infinite witness expressed in different forms. And this brings me back to the concept of love. Love is the force that unifies consciousness. It unifies yourself. It unifies your relationships with people. If you love your partner, you love your brother, your sister, whoever it is in your life, it unifies. If you have a care for someone, it brings you two together and you grow the relationship by expressing care into the other person, and it grows. So love is a very expanding, it allows things to grow, and it unifies things. And when you start to love yourself, you start to unify with yourself. And when you start to when you start to love nature, you start to unify with nature. So if we understood this, the world would be a better place. And love is the force that unifies the collective consciousness. If we truly hold love for ourselves, for others, other individuals, nature, then the world will become more unified. It unifies consciousness. This is the force of love. It's a very, very powerful, powerful force. And I do truly believe and come to understand now that love is the reason of all creation, which is the generative principle. All action is coming from a place of love or care. We only take action on what we care about. So even the sun is a symbol of love. It just expresses life, gives away all of its light, life, and energy to the earth and asks for nothing back. It is love, it is the expression of care. And that is what unifies consciousness. So, again, this is just talking about the inner witness and how consciousness expresses itself in many forms. And the checkerboard floor also transcends that idea that I've just described of how it's consciousness divided in many forms. It also represents a state of an individual's mind. The checkerboard floor is symbolic of uh, being divided, you versus me thinking, walking down the street and thinking everyone's a threat. It also represents their thoughts, emotions, and actions not being aligned, not being unified. Their thought, emotion, action are scattered, and they're not creating things consciously. It also represents many, many different personalities in our minds, the divided personas and personalities in our mind that we have. And the eye represents the unification of that. It's about unifying our mind pretty much to not have all of these different characters and sides to ourselves and actually being a whole mind, uh, becoming conscious of uh, the unconscious aspects of ourselves and transmuting them. And when we become conscious of something, we then hold the power to change it. If we have an unconscious part of ourselves, and we never truly realize it, we don't change it, and that unconscious thing can actually seek to control our thoughts, emotions, and actions from that place of the unconscious mind. So ultimately, that's what darkness to light represents. Darkness symbolizing things we are unaware of, because when something is in dark, you cannot see it. Uh, Most people are in darkness of their imagination. They don't realize the power of their imagination. They're unconscious of it. They don't use it. And to become conscious of that is to put it into light. Shedding light on something reveals something. If I shine a torch on an object, it's going to reveal it. It's the truth. So it's about becoming conscious of the aspects of ourselves that we may be unconscious of and actually using them and transforming them as tools. And again, we have the eye with light, with white and black. This is duality. Uh, you are also the witness consciousness, as previously mentioned, and the witness consciousness thinks in duality. We think we are the hater and the lover. We are the deceiver and the truther. The truth is that consciousness thinks within duality, and in within the mind beyond the witness there is duality in thought. But in truth, you are not either. You are neither the positive or negative thought. You are the witness of it. There's a great saying in the Gospel of John. and I can't remember exactly the words, but it goes something along the lines of lift the wood, I am there. Lift the stone, I am there. It's basically saying that everything is the I am, everything is the same consciousness. No matter where you go in the universe, you're talking to self. You're talking to the same thing. You're seeing the same thing. It is the same consciousness that is everywhere. So consciousness thinks within duality, and it is the light and the dark, and we have the ability to transform between them. And some people think that, darkness is all evil. Darkness is not inherently evil. Darkness is not inherently evil. There are dark aspects of the world that help you actually progress into the light. Without the darkness, consciousness can't move into the light, into knowingness. Without bad, there is no evil. They are needed. Both of them are needed. So, in order to understand the light, you have to understand darkness. And there are some forces of some forces of darkness in the universe that are purposely there to cause certain things to then push you and activate the good or the light. Uh, some Gnostic texts talk about how there are beings that, very powerful beings, that purposely descend themselves into darkness on purpose to make things happen in certain people's lives, so it actually pushes them towards the light, towards the good. So, this is ultimately what the whole allegory of Satan is. Satan was created by God, and Satan is necessary, which is symbolic of darkness. Is symbolic of evil, the evil forces of the universe, because the universe is simply just one force of consciousness, and that one force can express itself in good and evil. The power of the mind can be used to kill, or the power of the mind can be used to create amazing things. So there is only one force in the universe, symbolized by the one eye, the one force of consciousness, and that one force can be used for light and dark, which is the checkered board. Uh, It's also symbolic of the checkerboard being on the ground, symbolizing the earth, which is base awareness, duality thinking, base consciousness, stuck in division consciousness. And the one eye symbolizes unification of the mind, a mind, a balanced internal perception. We're rising from the ground to the sky, symbolizing from heavy to the light, from darkness to light. The eye is also symbolizing perception, what we perceive. And this is ultimately the end goal of all occult and esoteric research, is to gain more light, to gain a higher perception of the self, to gain a higher eye, a higher perception. That's why the eye is always raised above, symbolizing you're chasing the eye, you're chasing a higher perception of yourself and reality and the universe. Uh, it also reveals the teachings of the eye that is always watching you. There is an eye always watching you, and then that eye is the laws that governs consciousness. Consciousness or your mind is governed by certain laws that your mind cannot escape, such as cause and effect, vibration, mentalism, correspondence, rhythm, the 8 universal principles that pretty much crystallize consciousness into a reality. Your mind cannot escape the law of cause and effect. That force is too powerful to escape. Therefore, this is the I watching you. This is the I that has governance over you. It is the laws. But then again, on a negative context of the I can then become a symbol of surveillance. Hence why certain organizations and companies in the world use the symbol of the I symbolizing surveillance, gaining, manipulation and surveillance over humanity and certain things and data. So there's light and dark of every symbol. It's just depending on how you use it. But ultimately, that is the teachings of the checkered board and the eye in the sky. If you wish to learn more about yourself, because that is the only thing that matters in the world, learning about yourself. The only thing you take with you after death is the knowledge that you hold in your mind. You can't take your car, you can't take your possessions, you can't take your money. The only thing you take is your consciousness, your level of mastery, and the things you know. With that being said, I'll see you inside Ethereum University if you decide to join, and I'll see you in the next video.